welcome to UC Today. I'm Senior Editor Tom Wright, and today I'm joined by Richard from Gamma. How's it going, Richard?
Really well, Tom. Thanks. Doing isolation with two young kids, but other than that, surviving.
Well, it's great to have you here with us today, and I'm sure this might be a change up the day for you a little bit anyway. We're going to be talking about Teams migration today, which is something that is underway for many businesses at the moment. Would you be able to perhaps start by just talking through some of the challenges these businesses are facing at the moment?
Absolutely. It's like most things, really, when it comes to this, in terms of challenge about where to start, and that's just really knowing where to begin and the knowledge of how to do it. So, for most organisation, there is a skills and knowledge gap, and that's normal. Businesses that we work with usually have extremely talented people, but when it comes to this, everything's easy, but only when you know how. And finding out takes a lot of time, and unfortunately, making a lot of mistakes and learning a lot of lessons along the way. On top of that, as well, Microsoft Teams, when we're talking to people, it's generally more so about enabling it for voice and video or meetings. And, Teams does a lot more than that. It also deals with data stored in the cloud, which comes with its own considerations. Quite frankly, it's just not a point solution. And that's where we saw some of the organizations adopt point solutions early doors in the pandemic. They were able to do that, communicating quickly, but now they're gradually moving to a much more enterprise collaboration suite with much better, richer experience, such as Teams, and that's where we're helping organizations now as well. So there's a lot of challenges, but really that main one is, where do I begin and how do I do it?
And so on that point, then, what is your advice for businesses? Right at the very start, how do you recommend they get going and they start preparing for that journey?
Yeah, so as a previous business owner myself, when we ran that business, we actually always believed in standing on the shoulders of giants and just really leveraging external advice and guidance wherever we could. That although your journey is always unique, there are people who have kind of walked that path before, and some many times before, and made many mistakes over and over and over. By actually taking and leveraging their experience and guidance, it'll help you avoid the same mistakes and accelerate your journey. For things like Teams, there's various sources that people could try. Number one, I would actually say, go and leverage Microsoft. If you have an account manager, speak to them, access the documentation, and ask them for, a kind of starting point, if that's what you feel comfortable with. Another source is really just looking out for peers in your network who've actually already gone through a similar transformation, and ask how they went about it for some advice, so that you can start to get a feel for other companies' journeys on that. And a third one is obviously look at potentially bringing in a consultancy firm that actually specializes in this topic, and that they can demonstrate some sort of proven framework approach as well.
You mentioned a second ago, Teams does a lot of things, maybe things that a lot of people aren't aware of. So with that in mind, are there a few things that get overlooked on the migration journey, perhaps around governance and things like that?
Yeah. There's generally quite a few things that get overlooked because it's not a point solution, like you said. There are actually multiple teams involved in a rollout, and every team has its own guiding principles and goals. But if we were to kind of drop down and get to some simplistic ones that are common that get overlooked, one of the big ones is actually devices. And it's like such a simple one to get right, but we've seen lots of businesses not actually profile their devices to match their user personas, not correctly. So, they may give them an approved device, but it's a cheap device, it's wired, and that person needs to be getting up and down all the time. And usually when that happens, when there's a mismatch there, people actually fall back to using their own personal devices, like things like earpods. And these devices are really great for personal devices and other tools and calls. But in the world of Microsoft Teams, uncertified devices can actually cause a really, really poor call quality and perception of the rollout. It's actually fundamental to the rollout, and it's actually can either make or break the rollout. It's just a basic one to look out for. The thing that used to get overlooked, which is now given much more attention and focus, is file storage. So generally companies now are much more conscious of their data and how it's governed. And that's really around a lot of the public press out there around cyber attacks and even compliance with GDPR. So, we do see orgs typically giving a lot more thought now to data residency, making sure that the correct sensitivity labeling and application of cloud protection methods are all applied. But that being said, there are some basic governance points that are actually frequently overlooked that we find, and that can be as simplistic as just managing a team's life cycle. When, how often are these things checked for access? When are they cleaned up so that you don't have a litter of many different teams and teams bloat, if you like? Access auditing for even for when you have external access enabled for external people coming in. When do you check that those things are turned off and cleaned up as well? And then even simple things as basic as naming conventions. And the naming convention may sound rather silly, but we've actually seen examples in an education establishment was one of them, and the students had created a folder called finance, and then all of a sudden the finance team had found it because it was a public team and started uploading confidential finance documents there. So just some basic points that are good housekeeping. Sometimes those do get overlooked.
And I suppose thinking as well about all the huge array of things that Teams can do you find that some businesses start with maybe think it just does chat and voice and maybe a bit of collaboration? And if so, how do you take them through and realizing what they really could do with the whole platform?
Yes, I mean, in terms of the public awareness of what Teams can do, I think right now it's higher than it's ever been. But in all honesty, with the speed of application of development of the application, it's almost impossible for people to keep up to date with what it can actually do. I mean, some basic things is like it can actually still be difficult for some people to visualize how Teams can replace their phone system. However, those people are now much more in the minority than the majority, from the people I speak to anyway. What I'd say about Teams is, in terms of exploring and actually finding out what it can do, is that the great thing about it is that when it's actually adopted in an organization, the business units generally actually want to explore and find out more what they can, more things they can do with it, and how to actually drive innovation in a business. And really, all we do is foster that curiosity and the learning. There's not much point in going into business and just throwing them all the features and functionality that Teams can do without actually having an understanding of what they're trying to achieve. So, we're very much a case of diagnose before you prescribe. So if there's a genuine business requirement for one of the feature sets that Teams can deliver, then we'll help an organization explore what they do in their kind of BAU processes, and see if there's another way that they can adapt it or build it into Teams.
I think that leads quite nicely onto my final point. I think you at Gamma have been working on a sort of transformation journey or program for customers. Could you talk through how that works and how it benefits customers?
Yeah, I mean that's a really great question, actually. And if we just kind of loop it all the way back to the start in terms of what some of the main challenges that organizations face when they're trying to start their team's journey, and that for me is all about people find it difficult to know where to begin and how to actually do it. So we've developed a program, and the whole point of it is designed and developed to create a shared understanding between us and our customers about what a successful journey looks like for their business, and then help guide them through it. Nice and simplistic. I mean, but as a company, we've been helping businesses implement Microsoft UC for their core columns platforms for many years now, using a framework approach, in a bid to actually kind of more formalize and industrialize that process a bit, and also govern ourselves through that process more so. We've actually evolved that approach, and we've created a guided step-by-step tool set that tracks your progress through your journey. And that also includes resources and exercises to get the right outcomes. And this also continues way past delivery into business as usual. And to bring all that to life, we've decided that this whole tool set should be a guided process as well. So at Gamma, what we're doing is we're going to assign a customer success manager to oversee the process, because unfortunately the successful implementation of Teams, and in particularly with telephony when you work with us, it doesn't actually stop after the technical implementation. And our CSMs know that, and they're there to help. So you'll get advice from all the way start to finish and tackling common issues that we see around things like adoption, etc. And we can link that back in the chain and in the process to maybe where things haven't been executed, and making it very, very visible for you. It's not prescriptive. It's not that you have to do it, but it's there. And if there are issues, then usually it's nice and easy to highlight where something has potentially gone wrong and help you remedy it.
Okay, well, Richard, thanks a lot for your time today, and I hope the rest of your isolation flies by for you.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Tom.
And thank you everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and a share on social media, and we'll see you next time.